now this had killed the market for, of course.
I'm ready.
for Africa. A very, very interesting week this week in Kenya, especially for the church. And it's because the church has, and I have with me in studio.
Thank you. A very, very good afternoon.
Prophet.
Yes.
How are you feeling with the church? Specifically the Catholic Church.
Very excited, very happy. I think the church has taken its meaningful place in society and be alive. It's a good time because when the church was quiet, the state was doing Kenyans in. The church is speaking, the state is beginning to behave.
The statement by the Catholic Conference of the KCCB.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about it? And what are your take homes?
First and foremost, it was a fair statement. I like the fact that when Kenya Kwanza wanted to fight the statement, they were unable to fight the content of the statement. So what they were doing is they were fighting the persons who issued the statement. I think the crew, is there anything in the statement that was not a true reflection and representation of what is happening in Kenya? And your answer is as good as mine. The statement was fair. The statement was balanced. The statement was painting the true picture of what is happening in the republic that is Kenya.
I think for me, from the statement, I mean, they raised the issues of taxes, they raised the issue of SHAF, whatever. They raised the issue of new capitations, new university funding model, and abductions. And I think for me, that stood out. What would you say for you was key? And the issue of a government of lies.
I think the first and foremost was the issue of a government of lies. I mean, do everything to citizens, but don't lie. And by the way, you see, this government is demanding respect from Kenyans, but they forget one thing. And I've always told people, it's like a man at home who can't bring unga to his children, can't pay school fees for his children, can't pay rent for the house that the children live in. Can't provide in any meaningful way, can't even come and talk to the children in a respectful tone. How do you then expect as the husband or as the man of that home to be respected? This government is not paying school fees for its children. This government has made the cost of food very expensive. It has made the cost of living unbearable. It's a government that has not been responsive to the needs of Kenyans. And therefore, they lack the moral authority to expect any form of respect from Kenyans. So that is where that statement puts them. On abductions, everybody knows, even those people who do not live in this country, know that that has become the order of the day. That's the only thing they do. It's a hobby. I have always said this administration, it should have been easier to make a phone call. So and so, we know you and you are needed. Report to the nearest police station. And that person can report with their lawyer and get to know what charges are preferred against them. And if it is possible, they are told this, after investigating, we have found you inciting the public, or you're doing this and this, and take them through the due process. Nobody has a problem with appearing before a magistrate, by the way. Nobody has a problem appearing before a judge. The problem we have is that even now we have in excess of 100. The IG of police said about 145 Kenyans who are missing and unaccounted for. This is where the problem is.
And he said he does not know where these people who are abducted are. And I watched the bishop question, if the state cannot tell us where the people who are abducted, then who else can we question if the president and the people he's put in power cannot?
I think first and foremost, we need to stop all Subarus that are used for that work. Just ground them.
What if they change the cars?
We ground those cars that are used for that service because it is unnecessary. As I have said, I haven't known a Kenyan who's been told, present yourself to a police station, and they said no. I mean, if you know you have done no wrong, all they need is to tell you, police station, and to the nearest one. There's always a room for you. They put you in a cell. They take you to the police, to the court the following day. That should be the worst case scenario. And you present yourself before a judge and you hear and you have a fair trial, you're day in court. That's all Kenyans are asking for.
And for me also something that disturbs me is that immediately that statement came out, because it came out on Friday, right?
Yes.
But no, actually on Thursday. Yes, Thursday last week. And about 15 government institutions
reacted in 12
with
hours.
the reports at night. Everyone putting a statement. What's that like and why?
I'll tell you why. You see, first and foremost, this is the Catholic Church. This is not just any other success card. There are these churches we call success card, husband and wife, so that if I'm called to be a pastor, even my wife automatically was called to be a pastor. Then we put our poster there. And if the husband dies, then the church dies. Or if the wife
church
dies,
of dad and mom.
No, that kind of church is not church. I mean, we can't take that kind of church seriously. But the Catholic Church is an institution in itself. Remember, these people run more than 7,400 schools in this country. 31% of education institutions in this country are run and owned by the Catholic Church. 31% means a 31% failure on the part of government to provide education, because that is their job. The Catholic Church has about 69 hospitals. They have about 117 dispensaries. They have health centers. They have, in total, they own close to 1,000 health providing
Actually more than 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you start taking those people for granted, and the Catholic Church is not making noise because they hate Ruto. No. Something needs to be clear. When you run 7,000 schools, and there was a government that was giving capitation to schools, and now you are faced with the ugly spectacle of a church having to send children home because it is impossible to run the school without funds. I mean, these children must eat. These children must have electricity in school. So I saw schools in Mount Kenya region where now they are being taken to court for non-payment, or if you've not paid for maize that was supplied, you've not paid for rice that was supplied. So they're being taken to court. So why are you putting the church in such an ugly position and government is not giving capitation to schools? So they bear the brunt of government not giving capitation to schools more than anybody else. When you talk of SHIF and SHA, and SHIF, Kenyans usually like removing the F and putting a T and pronouncing it as it are, because that is exactly what it is. And when they go there and you've provided services, I have always, for people to understand, you walk into a hospital, you provide an NHIF card then before this SHIF thing. And what the hospitals used to do is they would swipe the card and await payment from NHIF. So if NHIF, for example, was supposed to pay for you 20,000, 30,000, whatever the amount, and for some, like in those church institutions, like for a CS section, close to 70, 80% of that. Now, when you give services to 10, 20, 30, 200 people, and the government has not paid, the hospital is unable to buy new supplies. The hospital is unable to pay even the people who provide rice and unga to that hospital. Now it appears like the church has become a con man because it's not paying its suppliers. You put the church in a very ugly position.
Because it's actually the government not paying the church institutions.
Yes. And then they hear that government has spent 104 billion procuring a system to run SHIF and SHA, as opposed to what was then spent on NHI, which was about 700 million. So it's an insult to the intelligence of Kenyans and to the intelligence of the church. And that is why when the church reacted, they knew if the church got angry and closed 31% of the schools in this country, where would government go and get the resources to build 7,000 schools overnight?
I don't even they would
even the health facilities.
Because what they have already is failing.
And what they have is already failing.
Yeah.
So that's why you see the government now looking at the Catholic Church and talking to them nicely. The other thing is, you remember that letter came on Friday?
Yes, Thursday.
On Thursday, sorry. On Sunday, it was read in all Catholic churches across the country.
Yes.
That tells
translated in all languages.
It went into every county, every sub-county, every ward.
And dioceses are bigger than counties.
Yes.
So
gets more interesting. It gets more interesting. The Jumuiyas, which are small Christian communities within the Catholic Church, were told to even go and discuss that letter in their Jumuiyas on that Sunday afternoon. Because, you know, for those who understand the Catholic Church, prayers together. So this thing in one day, and you know, Catholics are said to be about 40% of the Christians that we have in Kenya.
Idijaba, don't go. I'm sorry about sound. I don't know whether I'm hard now, but I'm really sorry. I don't know what is happening. I've tried to re-enter. I've tried all the things, but I don't know where I'm messing up with. I don't know whether I'm messing up, but I've tried my best at least to be heard, at least to be loud and clear here. But I don't know why. Of course.
So that is where that statement puts them. On abductions, everybody knows, even those people who do not live in this country, know that that has become the order of it. So we know you and you are needed. Report to the nearest police station. And that person can report with their lawyer and get to know what charges are preferred against them. And if it is possible, we have some citing, take them through the due process. Nobody has a problem with appearing before a magistrate, by the way. Nobody has a problem before appearing before a judge. The problem we have is that even now we have in excess of 100. The IG of police said about 145 Kenyans who are missing and unaccounted for. This is where the problem is.
And he said he does not know where these people who are abducted are. And I watched the bishop question, if the state cannot tell us where the people who are abducted, then who else can we question if the president and the people he's put in power cannot?
I think first and foremost, we need to stop all Subarus that are used for that work. Just ground them.
What if they change the cars?
We ground those cars that are used for that service because it is unnecessary. As I have said, I haven't known a Kenyan who's been told, present yourself to a police station, and they said no. I mean, if you know you have done no wrong, all they need is to tell you, present yourself to the nearest police station. I mean, you walk to the nearest one. There's always a room for you. They put you in a cell. They take you to the police, to the court, they put yourself before a judge, and you have a fair trial. You're there in court. That's all Kenyans are asking for.
And for me also something that disturbs me is that immediately that statement came out, because it came out on Friday, right?
Yes.
But no, actually on Thursday. Yes, Thursday last week. And about 15 government institutions reacted
in 12
with
hours.
The reports at night. Everyone putting a statement. What's that like and why?
I'll tell you why. You see, first and foremost, this is the Catholic Church. This is not just any other success card. There are these churches we call success card, husband and wife, so that if I'm called to be a pastor, even my wife automatically was called to be a pastor. Then we put our poster there. And if the husband dies, then the church dies. Or if the wife
church
dies,
of dad and mom.
No, that kind of church is not church. I mean, we can't take that kind of church seriously. But the Catholic Church is an institution in itself. Remember, these people run more than 7,400 schools in this country. 31% of education institutions in this country are run and owned by the Catholic Church. 31% means a 31% failure on the part of government to provide education, because that is their job. The Catholic Church has about 69 hospitals. They have about 117 dispensaries. They have health centers. They have, in total, they own close to 1,000 health providing
Actually, more than 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you start taking those people for granted, and the Catholic Church is not making noise because they hate Ruto. No. Something needs to be clear. When you run 7,000 schools, and there was a government that was giving capitation to schools, and now you are faced with the ugly spectacle of a church having to send children home because it is impossible to run the school without funds. I mean, these children must eat. These children must have electricity in school. So I saw schools in Mount Kenya region where now they are being taken to court for non-payment, or if you've not paid for maize that was supplied, you've not paid for rice that was supplied. So they're being taken to court. So why are you putting the church in such an ugly position and government is not giving capitation to schools? So they bear the brunt of government not giving capitation to schools more than anybody else. when you talk of Shif and Sha, and Shif, Kenyans usually like removing the F and putting a T and pronouncing it as it are, because that is exactly what it is. And when they go there and you've provided services, I have always, for people to understand, you walk into a hospital, you provide an NHIF card then before this Shif thing. And what the hospitals used to do is they would swipe the card and await payment from NHIF. So if NHIF, for example, was supposed to pay for you 20,000, 30,000, whatever the amount, and for some, like in those church institutions, like for a CS section, close to 70, 80% of that. Now, when you give services to 10, 20, 30, 200 people, and the government has not paid, the hospital is unable to buy new supplies. The hospital is unable to pay even the people who provide rice and unga to that hospital. Now it appears like the church has become a con man because it's not paying its suppliers. You put the church in a very ugly position.
Because
and
it's actually the government not paying the church institutions.
Yes. And then they hear that government has spent 104 billion procuring a system to run Shif and Sha, as opposed to what was then spent on NHI, which was about 700 million. So it's an insult to the intelligence of Kenyans and to the intelligence of the church. And that is why when the church reacted, they knew if the church got angry and closed 31% of the schools in this country, where would government go and get the resources to build 7,000 schools overnight?
I don't even they would
even the health facilities.
Because what they have already is failing.
And what they have is already failing.
Yeah.
So that's why you see the government now looking at the Catholic Church and talking to them nicely. The other thing is, you remember that letter came on Friday?
Yes, Thursday.
On Thursday, sorry. On Sunday, it was read in all Catholic churches across the country.
Yes.
That tells
translated
you
in all languages.
It went into every county, every sub-county, every ward.
And dioceses are bigger than counties.
Yes,
so
it gets more interesting. It gets more interesting. The Jumuiyas, which are small Christian communities within the Catholic Church, were told to even go and discuss that letter in their Jumuiyas on that Sunday afternoon. Because, for those who understand the Catholic Church, they have what they call small Christian communities, where the now parishioners meet and, do prayers together. So if this thing in one day, and Catholics are said to be about 40% of the Christians that we have in Kenya. So this thing in one day got to close to 20 million people in one day. So it tells you the impact of that church. That if that church was to tell its people, let's just walk to State House, each of you carry a rosary and a candle, that would be the end of this administration.
That would be such a good way of demonstrating.
Carry a rosary, carry a candle. Let's see if they are going to kill us all.
Maybe Bishop Anthony Muheria, Bishop Muhatia, and the team. Maybe we should try that.
It hasn't gotten there, but it will.
It might get there, actually. Yeah. And yesterday I saw the Bishop of Bungoma, I don't remember his name, saying that after this statement, they were told they are corrupt. The churches, like people in government started coming out and saying they are corrupt. Notable Gladys Boss-Sholei, who's the deputy speaker, attacked and said the church should concentrate on what they're supposed to do, which is preach, rather than crusading against the government.
I have a very good response to Boss-Sholei. The church can decide to concentrate on preaching. And the first thing they'll do is close their 31% of the schools. That is what is run by the Catholic Church. And then close another thousands of dispensaries and hospitals. Then let's see if your government will run. This is a 31% failure on the part of government. And by the way, the Anglican Church has followed suit.
Yeah, but before that.
And they have churches, they have schools.
They also have schools.
And hospitals.
Yes.
And they have even conference facilities.
Yes.
If these people decide, we've been doing too much work for you as government, if churches were to shut down everything, I think government owns less than 40% of our health institutions. So the nation would crumble.
Why do you think people like Gladys who are in positions of power, people like we've seen, not the best, Oscar Sudi also attacking, specifically, these ones were actually attacking Bishop Muheria, saying that he's a tribal priest, when technically he wasn't even involved in speaking.
He didn't even read the
his was just a signature, like every other bishop. Why are they attacking this particular bishop alone? Then when yesterday the Archbishop of Nairobi issued the statement to affirm their stand, there's no attack.
The script for Kenya Kwanza was very clear. One of the first things they wanted to do after the Gen Z revolution, because the Gen Z revolution shook them to the core. We are leaderless. We are tribeless. We are
churchless at
yes,
that point.
non-affiliated. They have to take us back to tribal cocoons for them to survive. Because their plan for 2027 was, tuko na huyu Joho atatuletea coast. Tuko na the Wetangula and whoever else atatuletea Western. So those were their calculations. So when you start speaking things like tribeless, they get confused because they only know how to handle 2027 in a tribeless nation. And for now, they have to make everything that is being said against the administration to appear like it's a Kikuyu versus the rest of the nation kind of war. And we thank God it is failing on the face, because the Catholic Church is coming out and saying, we are not a Kikuyu church. We are not a Luo church. We are not a Luhya church. No, this is a Catholic church and it's universal.
And this crusade against Ruto, because now it looks like it's a crusade against the government, which we actually have no problem with it because we are tired of the government not performing. The ACK Church has also come out. Ole Sapit came out and clearly said the ACK Church is in support of what the Catholic bishops are talking about, and he also gave a statement. The PCEM moderator came and said the same. The leaders from Nyanza actually said, if we continue like this, we're going to ask Christians to get to the streets to demonstrate. So is this crusade going to be a success?
It is already a success. Before it began, it's a success. And you know it by how the political leadership is responding. They are now running helter-skelter, and the only thing they're doing is focusing on trying to pacify the church. And I think that is where they go wrong, because their leaders who are doing their work, look at Traore in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim. In 2 years, we've had 2 years of people here complaining and saying, we are trying to figure out, 2 years is a short time. Traore is saying, I have done everything I needed to do. I want to hand back the state to these people to choose a president democratically. And they are going on the streets and demonstrating and saying, no. You are not going anywhere.
Fix the country.
You are staying here. Can you imagine Kenyans demonstrating and saying Ruto must stay? You need to do your work. And if you do it well, Kenyans will force you to stay. Kenyans will force you to stay.
It's not even registering
now someone
in my
is
mind.
here trying to add 2 years. Instead of just being good, serve people. 2 years is a long time. We've seen what Traore has done in 2 years. So here, there's an administration that has done a lot of looting, a lot of loss of public resources. They've lost trust in Kenyans. And now they are here thinking that the church is the problem. The problem with Kenya Kwanza, they never see themselves as a problem.
Everyone else accepts.
Everybody else is wrong except themselves. And you remember, Kithure Kindiki, a professor of law, goes into a church and starts saying, Sasa isi harape, we are coming to in Sadaka. Have you ever heard anywhere, for anybody who's read that book, the good book called the Bible, they always say when you give with your right hand, the left hand must not know what you've given. So if that was an offering, we are going to allow from now henceforth politicians to go and give money in church, but never to announce.
Never even stand in church to speak.
Just go wait for the offering basket and put, and then don't announce.
And put the 5 million.
Yes, perhaps. And also we tell the pastors, if you announce what was given, then we come and visit you. Gen Zs have a way of visiting people. Can come and visit you, so that then they don't get away. Because what they are trying to do now is, again, as I told you, one, they want to employ the tribal card. That's why the Sudis are trying to profile bishops. That has failed. The second thing they wanted to do is, now the money that has been stolen, because this is stolen money, how do you become deputy president of a Republic of Kenya? And before you earn your first salary, which is about $1 million, you come and donate 2 million.
2 million.
That's the irony. So what we need to do, and I have said it very clearly, is to tell these politicians that you will not be allowed to spend corruption money in a church.
Which is very good. And
people will not clap for you for putting corruption money into a church basket.
And this
when we hammer that narrative, they are done.
It will end. And in line with what you're saying, the Catholic Church, again, it's very interesting. These people have made the Catholic Church issue statements back to back. yesterday night, they issued another statement, which is signed by the Archbishop of Most Reverend Philip Anyolo of Nairobi. And it was a long statement, but the point I'm making here is it says the Kenya, KCCB issued a statement on 14th addressing critical national issues that require urgent attention, but have not been done as yet. So the Catholic Church strongly discourages the use of church events such as fundraisers and gatherings for political self-promotion, which is what you're talking about. The other thing, on Sunday, President Ruto went to some Catholic church in Kayole and gave a donation of, the amount, right?
Yes.
The governor of Nairobi was also in that meeting and gave a donation. So the church has said, such fundraising appeals on Sunday, 17th, 2024 are in violation of these directives and the law. These include the president's donation of 600,000 to the choir and PMC and 2 million for the construction of the father's house. These funds will be refunded to the respective donors. Furthermore, the promised additional of 3 million for the construction of the father's house, as well as the donation of parish bus by the president, are hereby declined. Politicians are most welcome to attend church for their spiritual nourishment, but they're encouraged to do as ordinary Christians without leveraging their positions for political gain. How do you think the president will received his donation of 600? How did it?
First and foremost, Sakaja, take back your money, go and fix potholes. We have too many potholes in Nairobi.
They're not potholes. Those are just...
They are dimples.
Yeah. No,
and some of them are actually, what do you call them? They are gorgeous.
Yes, that's the word.
And what we can tell is this is a failed governor who thinks that by coming to a church, he's going to atone for his sins of non-performance.
Including the road to that church.
Exactly. So Sakaja, take back your money. We don't need your money.
Thank you for that.
Nairobians want service delivery.
I just made a $27 ebook in 2 minutes using AI. Watch how I did it so you can do it too. Here I am in Designer, and the first thing you'll notice is the user-friendly interface. Now watch closely. I'm clicking Create New Project and selecting Word Genie. This is where the magic happens. All I need to do is type in a topic. Let's go with social media marketing tips for small business.
Now,
and I hope, by the way, so before we leave, Sakaja, I hope you've seen the stories of all the bad roads in
They are horrible.
Kilimani is like terrible. Kayole is bad. Umoja, like the story is online. Please go watch and do your job.
No, Sakaja, first and foremost, is a failed governor. I don't even know what he's doing in office because nothing is working in Nairobi, including garbage collection. I think the only thing that is working is collection of revenue. And the only day Sakaja is ever going to speak is when you close the taps for revenue collection. If Nairobians refuse to pay and say now we must get value for what we are paying, Sakaja will wake up and he will address issues. But for now, he doesn't care because revenue is still coming in.
Back to the donation.
Back to the donations, the Catholic Church has said no, which is because the AIPCA, where are you?
They have a donation of...
AIPCA, there's 7 million in your coffers. Are you going to say no? I saw them clapping behind the president. They were very happy. AIPCA now, this is the time to know whether you're people of integrity. This is the time to know...
I have seen someone saying they're in one of the WhatsApp groups with AIPCA bishops, and they are saying, this is it's online, by the way, it's not me, that they want that money that is being returned by the Catholic Church
to go to them,
donated to them, in addition to the 7 million.
Because this is lack of integrity. This is pure greed and selfishness and putting money before everything. This is the only chance AIPCA has to redeem themselves.
So we expect today,
and they are going to lose. They should have done it. They are late. They are going to lose credibility in the eyes of every other person if they do not return that money. And this is what needs to happen. That we tell the president, no, thank you. If the
Taifa Leo newspaper has a very interesting headline today. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not yet.
It's on the donations.
Yeah.
In one Sunday, the president gave 13.5.
Yes.
What is the salary of a president?
He actually gave out his 1 year's salary. in one Sunday.
Yes.
That's why we don't want that to continue. We don't want a president who is capable of giving 13 million in one day. We don't. What we want is a president capable of delivering services to 13 million Kenyans in one day. That's what we are looking for. And that's why their money must be rejected. Yeah. Sadaka 13 million. Yeah. That is the kind of money that we want rejected, because they thought now it's time to come back and buy the voter. The voter is saying our price is too high. It's good governance. Govern as well.
There's no change.
Yes, govern as well. Our price has changed. Our price is good governance.
And I'm very concerned because for the last 10 years, the money that was rejected, it's open. The president has given so many donations, like almost every Sunday. In fact, during campaigns, it used to be like standard 2 million per.
Yeah.
Where is this money coming from?
Actually, we know it's not salary money. Full stop. Because salary money has a limit. If you give 13 million in one Sunday, then that is 1 year salary plus. Where will you get another 13 million to give the following Sunday? So let's just agree it is stolen money. There is no shortcut. There's no rocket science needed. It is stolen money.
And the church has been a collaborator, unfortunately.
Yes.
When I look back at the history of the church in Kenya and politics, the story of Reverend Njoya being beaten up by police for fighting for good governance, the story of Bishop Muge, the story of Bishop Gitari, there was Father Kaisa. All these leaders stood for something. What happened in between that now the church has nothing to stand for? Or maybe it's getting back?
First and foremost is we got a crop of church leaders who discovered that church is lucrative and went into church not because it was a calling as it's supposed to be, but because there was income there. And their primary driving goal was money. And so it's a commercial outfit. Purely, totally, and completely a commercial outfit where you come in and you start competing with other bishops. Soon you have a car, then you have protocol, then you have the next new car. And it's a very lavish lifestyle at the expense of very poor people who have come to believe in that. So I think it's a high time we do what Kagame did. We regulate our churches as well. We start cleaning up and mopping up, and we are left with churches that appear serious.
And because the president and most people in government today were there during that period, they were, if I could understand it, then they understand it more. Of course, he has an idea of how former President Moi dealt with the church. Do you think he's capable of taking that direction?
He has permission to. You have permission to make mistakes. In fact, we prefer when he makes mistakes. But if anybody thinks that sending Sudi and Boss Sholei to the church is a good idea, then you are wrong. Because now you're agitating the other churches more. Remember, there are churches that need to redeem themselves. All of us have not forgotten what Ole Sapit was doing at Bomas of Kenya. All of us have not forgotten how he put the Anglican Church in a lot of jeopardy. And he needs to redeem himself, and he's trying to redeem his church. And very many other churches feel the same. So it will be counterproductive for them to try and fight one church, because the others who want to redeem themselves will bolt out.
Not necessarily one church. I'm looking at it during the days of Dingi, Mwananzeki. The attack used to be on anyone from the church who speaks against the government. Do you think this government is in a position to get us to that? And are we as citizens ready for that sort of nonsense?
In the 2010 Constitution, the only recourse left for them is the unconstitutional abduction of Kenyans. So we want to see if they are going to start abducting bishops. Because they have tried everything else in the book, and the only thing remaining is abduction. So we invite them, go ahead and abduct bishops if you think it's going to save you. It is easier for government to correct its mistakes than to fight with people. They need to sit and wait and reflect and say, wait a minute. Why am I eating 5 chicken at a go, unauma, and people are hungry? And when they sit and reflect and tone down, maybe Kenyans would forgive them.
Maybe, I think not just sit and treat. It is working for the people.
It's a huge perhaps.
That hope is hope against hope.
Yeah,
At
but
that point.
again, and you're forgetting still on the angle of the church. Anybody from Embu, we love you very much. We congratulate you. We tap you. If you see somebody from Embu, buy them a cup of tea. You know, if you can't afford, buy them a soda. Just tell the people of Embu, thank you so much. You knew the brief. You understood it well. You executed it well. And Kenyans are happy with how the people of Embu behaved, especially towards Professor Kithure Kindiki. For those who don't know, Embu, when you leave Embu, Tharaka is not very far. When you leave Embu, you just go Chogoria like this. And, you know, Tharaka is not very far. But they didn't even manage to bring those dancers who were dancing at KICC to just at least cheer their own son. Nobody was interested in Kithure Kindiki. And the message became very clear for them because he was thinking, now you're in Embu, I'm coming to bring you your bride, then you can celebrate and say, oh, shock on him. The king of the mountain is known, and the people are happy to make known who the king of the mountain is. And he doesn't even need to prove he's king. He's not even struggling to say, I am king. He's just coming, trying to be him. People are, Embu was good. Anybody from Embu, I think we need to be coronating a bishop every weekend.
In Embu particular. But that guys, why I'm smiling is because that's my hometown and my people never fail me. I'm proud of you people. You did well. I was worried for Bishop Muheria because he kept telling people we're in church. And people, I think we're at a point where even Christians now are bold enough to say we're in church, but we will get our message out.
We're in church, but even God hates conmen.
And he hates corruption.
Yeah.
So yeah, the message was home. So people of Embu, we appreciate you.
And then they mentioned, I don't know who is this who mentioned Rigiji.
Yeah.
And now that was even crazier.
It's the chairman of the KCCB.
Yeah. And I could see the president's reaction. And he was like, now I know I made a mistake. Because it is very clear that his deputy might not. You remember there was a time when a person I don't want to mention was running mate to Musalia Mudavadi. And they say that even himself may not have voted for Mudavadi because no single vote was counted from his constituency.
But you know me, I can mention him.
So
the man Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Kioni.
So I don't know. We might have a replica of the same in 2027. Where in Kithure Kindiki's polling station, Ruto might not even get 5 votes. Now,
since we are still talking about the crusade in church and we saw what happened in Embu, do you think Christians are ready to, I'll not say to stone, but to walk out on politicians like we saw with Martha Karua sometimes when she walked out of the president? Do you think Christians are at a point where if, let's say, whoever comes in church and decides to take to the podium, guys will be angry enough to walk away?
I don't think. You saw that after the king of the mountain read his speech, another person followed. And that when that other person followed, they started walking away. Especially when he was speaking of Shah and Chief. I mean, you could see Kenyans were just walking away. I think it was milking time for them or something more important needed to happen than to listen to someone who will just tell you things that will not be fulfilled. So Kenyans walked out on him when he was giving his speech. And in fact, they then immediately, actually the reason they did not go too far is because they were waiting for Uhuru. And then when he was leaving, they all thanked him and were telling you told us, we are sorry, Uhuru, we love you. And they told him all sorts of things. And he was magnanimous. I like the way he took it in with a lot of humility. He didn't want to, because he would have cost a star, you know.
But at least he was wise to say that you need to respect Kenyans, so Kenyans can respect you.
Yes.
And basically all he said is deliver for the people.
He was attacking while defending.
Yeah, that's a wise man.
Yeah,
also, he was in charge. Yeah. So from the look of things, the church, the Catholic Church in particular in countries like Congo, in 2017, Congo has been at war for quite a long time. And in DRC, there were issues of human rights that were not being looked at nicely. They wanted to have elections, but the government that was did not want. And the Catholic Church tried to mediate, the bishops. And then when it got to a point where they felt the people in power were not willing, they decided to pull out of the mediation talks and called people for demonstrations. Is that something that our Catholic bishops can do here?
Not just Catholic. First, the Presbyterian Church has even gone ahead. fact, there's one
in Nakuru.
who has offered to lead the demonstrations, and he said he's going to be at the forefront. The more this administration continues to insult Kenyans, the more act they become, and the more they offer themselves, and the more they are ready to lose even their own lives for the sake of the others.
Why are they not learning from countries like Congo on the power of the church?
You see, they have. The fact that government is reacting means that the government is aware.
But even then they were still aware.
That their guns and tear gas and bullets cannot outsmart the church. I think, you see, you've seen people fight. I never saw people who came, stood at each other and started throwing their best punches and kicks. Usually there's a verbal exchange. Usually there's a push and shove here. Sometimes you start with a small slap before it goes into a full-blown one. I keep saying Russia did not go to Ukraine and they did not start with their strongest intercontinental ballistic missile. No. Usually they start many wars, even small fights at home, even between husband and wife, begin with small items. And by the time it's full-blown, they are throwing stools at each other. So this is just the beginning. Let us see, because depending on how each side is going to react, then people start reaching for the next arsenal and the next arsenal. And then before you know, now you've brought out the bazooka and the RPG, and it's a full-blown out war. But I have never seen a war where people went and started with their biggest and best weapon. Even the Second World War, I mean, after the Americans made the atomic bomb, they didn't drop it immediately. There's still time to try and see what you can do. But now when push comes to shove, that's where many people now go for the strongest of the weapons and they use it. So let's see how things unfold.
So I'm hoping they can learn something from how Congo went, or countries like those. And Benny Hinn was in Kenya earlier this year, and the government was big on his coming. They even put resources to it. Why is it that they were so blinded to listen to Benny Hinn, but then when our local pastors, bishops speak?
You know, actually, it was at a cost to us as a state. I remember the First Lady saying she's going there to bring that fella who I have zero regard for. Even if you keep saying to say, I mean, we have seen this is not a true servant of God, if that's how they're supposed to be. I think it's just based on the incipience of the leaders, because when you wake up and think that just because someone has a different color skin, then they are more superior to the bishops and the people within your own country, then you're all wrong. You're all wrong. And Benny Hinn came and went, and people now see him for whom exactly he is. So sweet, a very nice battle, and it's boiling nicely.
Me, I'm just wondering, is it a selective listenership such that he would accord Benny Hinn a listening ear? He will do whatever his miracles he wants to do or claims to do. But maybe because our bishops are not performing miracles, then we can't listen to
Prophet Owor.
I don't know if he's going to give a statement.
There was a problem when they were having issues with some crutches that a Roman he had. Anyway, I don't want to delve into that. But as I have said, it was the person, and Benny Hinn was truly the person of the First Lady of the Republic of Kenya. She's the one who insisted and said that she's bringing prayers into this country. And according in her wisdom, that Benny Hinn was the person who was supposed to have been. So, I mean, we don't need to belabor him, because I don't even blame Benny Hinn. I just think that this administration has got very fantastic ideas of who they think is holy and who they think is close to God. And they forget that those are things that human beings may not be possessed of. We have good leaders here. Some of the church leaders we have in this country have shown exemplary leadership. I wish we listened to those leaders.
I wish we would listen to. Because also another story of the church that rings a bell is during the French Revolution. What happened? It got to a point where the church was nationalized. So the government decided, you know what, this French thing is collapsing, but this church has a lot of wealth. So they decided to nationalize property that belonged even to the Catholic Church. And think there was another church also. Is the government in a position to, if they realize this shift is not working, would they get to a position where they not nationalize, because maybe that wouldn't be possible, but in a way that, because as it is, I feel like they feel like they're punishing the church without giving money, but it's not the church that is getting punished.
You cannot punish your own wife and children and be happy. It doesn't go that way. I mean, the people who are providing medical care to your citizens because you failed as a government are the people you're fighting. It's not going to work. It's counterproductive. What this government should have done actually is stretch out its hand more and try to reach out. Today, we are reading in the papers that counties are threatening to close in 30 days because there's no capitation. Have we ever had such an administration in the history of our existence that collects more money, collects more taxes, and pays absolutely no bill and does not even remit money to counties to the point that they are saying that they are going to close down? We've never had such an administration since independence. So, and where is the money going to? Harambe, 13 million in one day. And even Oscar Sudi going to places and giving 20 million in one day and building some fancy clubs here and there. That is what we want to stop.
Something that I took note of from the Most Reverend Olesapit's message is the last paragraph from his statement. This is what it says. In the circumstances, we should not simply fold our hands and pray for miracles. That's number one. We do not also condemn we do not also condemn the government or even criticize for the sake of it. We nevertheless demand transparency, greater accountability, time-bound plans, and urgent interventions in such services as especially medical care, which cannot wait. It is time the government realized that too much talk, open-ended promises of we will do, and the ancient wisdom still holds that when the rulers are good, the people are happy. When the rulers are evil, the people complain. And he puts the Proverbs 29 too.
Open talk and too much promises. Let me tell you something. I saw some people clapping to the president and I thought something is wrong with their heads. For those who listened to the president's speech, and I invite you to go and listen, he said they are going to put up a nursery school, a primary school, a TVET, and a stadium hapo.
Feels like forever, still I think of you often. Seasons since I felt in that shitty apartment where I said I loved you for the first time in August. I lost most of the photos, but I kept all the memories.
Now, this is going to be the first of its kind. Tutajenga shule ya chekechea, people clapped. Na shule ya msingi, he saw the clapping is increasing. So he said, na shule ya secondary, people, hey, they're still clapping. TVET. And then he ended up by saying a stadium. Now, anybody who was normal and sees the size of that piece of land that he was talking about there knows that a stadium alone will not fit. Kwani ni stadium ya kuchezea nini? Pool table?
No, si bado tunangoja ya Kamarini.
That stadium that was being promised. And then it was going to be a very interesting concoction where you have a nursery school, a primary school, a secondary school, and a TVET, and in addition, a stadium. Those are the kind of promises that these people look at the president and wonder what goes on in the president's mind.
Why does he keep making promises that he cannot fulfill?
Because he's the president that we do not want. That's not the kind of president we want. That will tell you that a nursery school and a stadium and a TVET will fit in the same land, and a primary and a secondary. As long as you clap, that's it. And he said hata hii barabara ya kuja kwenye inakaa kama ile barabara ya kwenda mbinguni. Because the road was...
I felt so bad for the people of Kayole.
Yeah.
That was...
And the governor is there. And you know, Kitambo, even... Kitambo, people used to know where the president is going. So they would send a county grader, they would send something. At least, Akikuja, even, it would have saved him the shame because he would have been coming to lounge. You know, delay, the church is not going anywhere. Should have delayed. Then they come and at least launch better rules. But now they came with nothing other than donation money.
But maybe it's because when he was in Embu, he promised that you'd look for a Catholic church to attend, to redeem himself maybe. And the donation was a form of redemption. Unfortunately, it's been returned.
How many Catholic churches are between State House and Kayole?
Must be so many.
Yes.
Basilica is...
But you see what they prefer is, you see, now that's the other thing. It's an issue of want and deprivation and need. If you take 5 million to the people of Loresho or Lavington or Karen and tell them, oh, I've come, I have donated 5 million, clap for me. Half of those people, if you look at the parking and the cars they are parking there, are worth more than 5 million each. So, but in Kayole, they know 5 million will be celebrated. In Soweto, they know 5 million will be celebrated. So you impoverish people to the point that these people are hardly able to meet their needs. And then you come and start dishing out money to them. And then you want them to clap for you and to see like you're doing them a favor. That culture will not continue in this country.
Should Kenyans deplatform politicians from church officially? Like, okay.
It's easier.
When President Kibaki was in power, he used to go to Consolata, I think, Shrine, especially, even in Nyeri. And you wouldn't even know. You just see
every time the media came, he told them this is a private thing. Yeah.
Even Moi, when he was president, never spoke inside churches.
Yes.
Should we deplatform them and just demand as Christians too?
No, what we need is sensible clergy. Because by the time a politician is coming to speak at the podium or at the pulpit or at the altar, it means there's a senseless person within the clergy who is allowing that to happen. So what we need to do is to start as young people warning pastors, they are closer to us, and telling them, wewe, hii kanisa yako ikiendelewa kutumia vibaya, sisi ndio tutaifunga. And so the clergymen will be telling politicians, apana, this doesn't happen in my church, people will close it for me. Yeah.
Great. Your people have called for a demonstration, Mandamano, on Thursday.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to happen?
First and foremost.
And should the church join them, maybe?
That Mandamano is supposed to happen for only one reason. God created us and gave us a gift. Shame is a gift. Because sometimes when we do something and it is shameful, and people shame us for it, it causes us to want to change, and it causes us to want to apologize. This is one administration that has been shamed and it doesn't care. Shame does not touch them. It doesn't make them feel a thing. They are insensitive to shame. So, like if people are to see photos of a person naked, in a very compromising position, that person would feel naked. Kenya Kwanza is in that situation, but they don't care. The fact that learning is not going on in institutions of higher learning for 1 month, and we are continuing as if things are normal as a country, I have never seen that. Show me one country on the face of the continent where teachers or lecturers go on strike for a month, and government goes on with business as if nothing is happening at universities.
Giving donations to churches. So
that is why I'm telling you, on Thursday, the streets might be lit.
Might be.
Yes.
All right. We await to see that. And we actually hope from what the bishops have called for, something gets done. Your final message to the church and the country.
The church may have come into this thing late, but they are never too late. Because it's their time to also, it's like a relay, I have said. You run 100 meters, you pass the baton, you run. We are now at a point where now we are telling the church, also take leadership for some time and push it to mahali mtafikisha. Mahali mtasimama mkikwama na sisi tutakuja tuchukue, and we continue. It's a relay until we get rid of this bad governance. And on the part of AIPCA and anybody else who's received money and not returned, this is a high time to redeem yourself and to return that money. Muache tamaa, muache ulafi. Money, God is the one who gives. Sinyi ndio mnahubiria watu mnaambia God will give you money. Now you don't believe in the money that can come from God. You have to retain the one that's coming from a politician. Shame on you if you don't return that money. But if you return it, then you're on the side of Kenyans, and Kenyans will celebrate you. And I worry deeply for you, because if you don't, Gen Zs are already threatening to come and visit. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. AIPC, again, we are watching you. Our eyes are on you. Kirinyaga in particular, that's where the money was given. Please do that. Members of that church who can call for change, please, do like the people of Embu. You're actually neighbors with Kirinyaga. Learn from the best. To us all, I hope we can always stand on ground as the Catholic Church has given leadership for this country. Let's push for that. At the end of the day, when Kenya functions, it's good for everyone. It's not just for the Catholic Church members or for Ole Sapit because he's called out. It is for us all. And we pay taxes so that we can get a better life and things and services running. Yeah. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next episodes.
I don't know whether I'm hard now. I don't know whether Jibijaba you can hear me now. So Jibijaba, you can let me know if my sound is bad.